Hello everyone and welcome. Keep watching this video because we've just picked up this brand new Audi Etron GT and I want to see how it compares for range and efficiency to the Tesla Model S, which I know very well, and this Porsche Taycan 4S, which I've been driving recently. So it's a Friday afternoon, we're nearly 200 miles from home. We're going to drive them all in convoy and see exactly how they compare under the same conditions. So stay tuned and you'll find out in a moment. So a little bit about each car before we start. So this is a Taycan 4S 93 kilowatt hour battery, and this has the optional large wheels, 21-inch wheels. So probably not the most efficient wheel and tyre combination, but we've just done another video driving this from 100% to absolute zero. So we've certainly tested the range. We know what it is. That'll be another video on our channel. And it's a great car. It really is a fantastic package. But how's it going to compare? This is our brand new Etron GT. Now this has got the standard 20-inch wheels, but it also has a 93 kilowatt hour battery. In fact, underneath they're on the same platform and they share much of the same mechanicals. So any difference between these two should really be down to wheels and the aerodynamic differences between the two. Brand new, I'm really interested to take this for a long drive now and see exactly what it's like. And along the way I can give you a little bit of feedback about how it compares in different aspects to the Porsche and to the Tesla. And then we have the benchmark, a Tesla Model S long range. Now this is a Raven edition, so it is one of the newer ones, which is a bit more efficient. It's from late 2019, but it is a performance one as well. Really the fastest car here on paper. We've got the 19-inch wheels on this car, which do help with efficiency compared to the 21-inch wheels, but it really does set the benchmark, and we've done some other great videos where we've driven these to Scotland and back, and even Edinburgh to London non-stop, over 400 miles. Granted, that was with a bit of effort, and on this journey, we just want to get home, so we're just going to drive the cars. So let's see how they all stack up. We all charged at 90%, although since we faffed around doing the intro, I've got 89%, 226 miles of range, but the range does vary on this, depending on how you've been driving. It does the same on the Porsche. How many miles of range have you indicated at?
213.
213 miles, and you'll also drop down to 89% now? 88%. And let's just check in on the Model S. So you're charged at 90%, but you've dropped a percent as well since we've been here. And what are you showing in terms of miles now for range?
299.
299 miles on the Model S. Okay, so it looks promising for the Model S. But let's see what happens in the real world. Let's go. So these chargers here at Rugby services are fantastic. There's a massive bank of Teslas and there's a massive bank of these electric highways. And they're 350 kilowatt chargers, which for this Etron and Taycan are exactly what they like to receive. Nice fast charging. Okay, let's pull away and we'll see exactly how they compare. And I'll give you a few comments along the way of what I think of this Audi Etron GT. So far, very, very positive. So we've already hit the first traffic jam and we're still in the services. So this could be a really long afternoon. It's a Friday afternoon, the school's all finished for summer holidays this week, so everyone's heading to the south coast, just like we are, to go on their UK holidays. Right, so it is 25 degrees Celsius, so nice and warm. There's a light breeze and it's dry. And I think what we'll do is just leave the cars in their default mode. So we could go into kind of range modes and stuff like that, but I'm just going to leave it in its standard, which the Audi is comfort, and not engage range mode in the Model S. Just drive them normally and we'll see what we get. So they sort of could be more efficient if you really tried, but on the other hand, let's just keep this real world and see exactly how they compare. So one of my first impressions of the Etron GT, well, I have driven the Etron GT RS, quite a long journey from Inverness down to London, and I have to admit, I was really impressed by it. It's not a cheap car, but it has a really good feel of quality about it. I love the looks of it, and it is a pleasure to drive, basically. That one, like this one, does have the, I think it's a 3-stage air suspension, and that gives it a really nice, comfortable ride. If you go to dynamic mode, then it firms up nicely, but it wafts along and absorbs bumps so well. It really is impressive. The adaptive damper's got real night and day difference in its feel when you're in each mode, just like the Taycan, which I presume uses the same system. That Tesla Model S does have the adaptive damping as well, and that helps over the previous generations in comfort mode. again, just iron out bumps to give a really nice smooth ride. So which one's got the smoothest ride? Well, I think this Etron GT just about takes that. Just about takes it over the Taycan because it's got the smaller wheels. It's 20-inch wheels versus the 21-inch wheels. The bigger sidewall tyres gives it slightly more room to absorb any ridges and bumps. But the Tesla isn't far behind. I find that a very comfortable car on long journeys as well. I've had them, I've driven many thousands of miles on them. So they're all pretty similar and all really comfortable cars and impressive. So now I'm sat in the Tesla Model S. And what's the differences? Well, in brief summary, this feels the most car-like. The others have got kind of that kind of more sort of GT sporting feel about them because you kind of sit a bit lower down and a bit more hunkered in. This feels the most spacious. It's a lovely, smooth, comfortable car. The seats are a little bit softer and it's very reasonable indeed. You do notice when you get from one to the other that although this is a really smooth ride, it's actually not as smooth as the others in comfort mode. And this can get a little bit more kind of unsettled over a sequence of bumps, and the others seem to have sort of more travel in their suspension and tend to float a little bit more, again in their comfort modes. This has definitely got way stronger regen, so this is one pedal driving. The others have got some regen and auto regen where it kind of coasts, which can be really good, and then you lift off and it will just coast, but then bring in regen if you're coming up to a junction or something. And then in the Audi you've actually got paddles to adjust the regen. I do like having the paddles. It'd be nice to have that even the Tesla, but with a Tesla, you know, the one pedal driving I'm really used to. I think that's great. You don't have to keep shuffling your foot around, whereas you do in the other cars. So fantastic car, just feels a bit different basically, and in ludicrous mode certainly has more punch, that's for sure. And now I'm in the Porsche, and you know, it actually feels distinctly different. It's the more sporting feeling of the three cars by quite a long way. But it's partly because of the options this car has. This car has the sound, so it makes more of the audible sound, augmented sound. It has a sort of sharper steering feel. I think it's a sharper rack, but it has the bigger wheels, so maybe that helps with the kind of agility. And it has real steering as well. And then the brakes on this Porsche are phenomenal, but again they're upgraded brakes, so this as a package is definitely the kind of got the sportier, more aggressive type of feel to it. Yeah, it's very good as well. It's very good as well. They're all good cars, they just each have their different qualities, but with the Audi and the Porsche the differences are partly down to the spec of them as well. But this Porsche is it's a bundle of fun, I tell you. Oh, on the Porsche, what I do like is the drive selector being right here, a little twisty dial. You have to, again, it's an option actually, you have to have the chrono pack to have the drive selector mode right here, but having that right here is good. In the Audi it's a switch down in the sort of centre here, fairly quick and easy, but you have to toggle it a couple of times, or toggle it then go to the touchscreen. And in the Tesla you have to go into the menu to change whether you want sort of chill, sport or ludicrous. So I like having the drive selector here. That's a plus point for the Porsche for sure. Can you hear the Porsche sound? Ready? Ooh. See, the Audi makes some noise and the Tesla makes none. But you have to have the sound box optional extra to have that. But between it all, it sounds great. Cabin noise. Well, this is a very quiet car. Again, compared to, I drove the Porsche most of the way up here, and it is a bit quieter than the Porsche in fact. Again, probably helped by the fact this is running slightly narrower tyres, 295s with smaller wheels. That Porsche got massive 305 tyres. That Porsche is the same as the GT-RS I drove. Again, you can just hear a bit more tyre roar because of the massive rear tyres it has. The Model S is, I'd say, pretty much equally as quiet as this, maybe a little bit more wind flutter, which I'm not getting in this car. There's not much in it. On a motorway again, all smooth, quiet cruisers. Feel of the cabin, let's talk about that. The e-tron here is pretty hard to fault. It's got premium materials, it's just lovely, it feels nice, it looks premium. Yep, got it sorted. Audi have had the interior sorted out for a while and it really is good. The Tesla is minimal, but all the modern ones, again, build quality has all been fine. They just look sort of bare compared to these, but I don't think that's a bad thing, and I really have no qualms with the Model S, but just because it has less materials, it is more minimal, it doesn't feel as premium, if that makes sense. And Taycan, it does feel really good. Again, it's very good. Which is the best build quality? Well, the Taycan is the only one here which actually has a slight annoying rattle in it. It's got a rattle on the door somewhere, which it shouldn't have, really, should it? I think that's quite a common thing, and I think easily resolved, so I'm not really going to mark it down. It's a well-finished cabin. There's not much to pick between them. It's just that the Model S feels a bit bare in comparison. Screen interface. The Porsche is really non-intuitive. The Audi is fairly non-intuitive. And the Tesla's easy. So for me, in terms of screen interface interaction, trying to do something, the Tesla wins it by a mile. I think, you know, the Tesla and the Polestar have just got great, simple, intuitive interfaces, and somehow the Audi and Porsche has got a long way to go. They just feel antiquated by comparison. What they do have though is the display up here is more detailed and has more to it, including more sort of mapping and stuff. The Tesla gives you some navigation directions, but that binnacle in front of the driver is now sort of feel a little bit dated in comparison in the Tesla in some ways. Again, still very good, obviously miles above most cars, so you know, first world problems here, but you can kind of do more with the Porsche and the Audi with the display here, but for me the Tesla wins it for interaction. How about the space inside? Well, the Tesla feels the biggest. It's kind of the most open and airy. Both the Porsche and the GT feel more like sports cars. You're sort of sat lower down, a bit more cosseting. But in terms of kind of headroom and legroom, for 4 adults they're all equal, but if there was a fifth, then the Tesla wins that one. It's got a flat floor in the back, and you can get 3 adults across the back seat. It's far easier. What I would say is though that your knees on the back seats of the Tesla can end up sort of quite high. The gap between the floor and the seat base is minimal, whereas in the Porsche and this Audi they actually have like little cutouts in the battery pack apparently, so you've got a greater sort of depth between your feet and the seat base. So actually as a single passenger in the back it kind of can be more comfortable in the Porsche and the Audi, but overall the Tesla has more practicality, bigger boot, more space in the cabin, feels more light and airy, more like a sort of normal large saloon car rather than a sort of GT type cars, which these definitely feel more like to me. Audi has the best seats, sorry to anybody else, but it does. These seats, you have to get this advanced comfort pack, but the Audi is the only one here which actually has vented seats. It has adjustable side bolsters, adjustable thigh support. It's just a brilliant seat, it really is. I mean, these are the best. The Porsche even has upgraded seats, but still doesn't have the vents and the side bolster adjustment, which on a car like that I think it really should have. Teslas are perfectly comfortable, but they don't have as much adjustment by comparison. Never found them a problem, but you know, to have all this adjustment is great. And actually on a hot day like today, the vented seats in this I'm appreciating for sure right now. Ooh, we've got, is it Meridian? What's the sound system in this, guys? Meridian?
B&O.
B&O, yeah, you sure?
You can see that by your right leg on the door, there's a speaker that's written on it.
It's too low down, I can't see it.
Open the door.
I'll cut this. The sound system in this Audi is very, very good. This does have, again, part of that package, the upgraded sound system, Bang & Olufsen surround 3D sound, and it's standout phenomenal. Yep, wins hands down. The Tesla Model S has a premium high fidelity sound, and that's very, very good. It is impressive, good deep sound to it. The Porsche Taycan, that one has a standard audio, and to be honest, distinctly very average. Nothing to stand out at all. But on this Audi, yep, perfect. Thank you, Audi. App connectivity, Tesla wins that one. Superb, great, no problems. The Audi's okay, yeah, it's just a little bit laggy, but it kind of does the job. And the Porsche, similar to the Audi really, it's not a particularly amazing app connection. And then in those you can't adjust its charge limit either, well that I found anyway. Whereas in the Tesla it's really easy. So kind of app connectivity, opening the app, getting the climate on much quicker and easier in the Tesla. I guess the other ones will improve. So we've covered just over 100 miles now, so let's do a check-in on economy. The motorway is actually busy, so we've come off onto some A roads now. But let's see how we're going. So I'm averaging 34.6 kilowatt hours per 100 miles. So in Tesla language, we do watt hours per mile. So that's 346 watt hours per mile that I'm using up. So the lower the figure, the better. Gint and the Porsche, what's your economy?
At the moment I'm averaging 32.3 kilowatt hours per 100 miles.
So you're using less than the Audi at the moment. Okay, I've got 34.5. Serge, in the Tesla, what have you got?
I've got 253 watt hours per mile, so that would be about 4 per kilowatt.
So Tesla's proven quite a lot more economical so far. And interestingly, the Taycan's actually doing better than this Audi. So, okay, well, let's see how we carry on and what we get when we get to the end, eh? 3, 2, 1.
You're pulling away just a bit. You're pulling away. No, pretty similar, pretty similar, pretty similar.
Once they're rolling, they're identical basically, aren't they?
Exactly the same thing. So, Taycan second gear. Did you feel your second gear?
Yeah, I don't normally feel the gear thing, but I actually did then, at quite a high speed actually.
Was that it? I thought it was going to be like a noticeable, but it was like actually like boom, boom. You could feel it that it turns the second gear on. Very strange feeling.
Yeah, I've never actually noticed it before. That's my first time as well, and you can just feel like a little thud, a little jolt as it did it. 3, 2, 1, go. 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, it's quicker. So with a Tesla Model S in ludicrous, yeah, it pulls away off a roundabout. It's quicker. It's meant to be. It's on paper, it's quicker, and it is quicker. I think at higher speeds though, this would come past it. You know, I think you'd have to be doing obviously not a speed we can't do on the roads, but at higher speeds the Porsche and the GT I think would quite happily gain it back. They go through into the second gear, and I think at autobahn speeds, ludicrous, would have trouble. Talk about the performance difference of these cars. Now, to be fair, the Model S is a dual motor performance, the quickest one, 0 to 60 2.4 seconds on paper, whereas the Taycan is a 4S. It's not a turbo or a Turbo S, and this is a GT and not a GT RS. Now, we need to get on track to find the difference exactly, but we've just gone through a sequence of dual carriageway roundabouts and gives us a chance to see exactly what they're like. Firstly, the Tesla, the figures they quote for that are always super optimistic. When Tesla quote a figure for 0 to 60, it usually includes a 1 foot rollout and it's all kind of proper optimal conditions, fully charged battery, and so they're always optimistic. And when you actually time them on, you know, runways or drag strips, usually hard to get really quite close to that. Whereas the Audis and the Porsches tend to actually perform slightly better than their quoted numbers. So quoted numbers are 2.4, 3.7 for the Porsche, and 4.1 I think it is for this Audi Etron GT. Now, e-tron versus the Tesla, coming off a couple of roundabouts back there. If the Tesla was in normal driving mode, it seemed to have a slight edge. If the Tesla's in ludicrous mode, it peels away pretty comfortably, to be fair. Maybe at very high speeds the Germans would sort of come back at it as they go into second gear and get up into their stride, but speed far in excess of what we could ever cover in the UK road. Interestingly, the Taycan 4S and this e-tron GT seem to be like identical. And all I'm wondering there, I mean, this is kind of rolling off a roundabout coming up to 70 miles per hour. There's nothing in them, same. And what I think is probably the case here is probably a slight software difference. So if you launched them from a standing start, maybe at a very slower speed, the Porsche is, you know, picks up a little bit more. But actually, once they're both rolling, they were identical. And actually, what we found is Tesla do the same with the Model 3 long range and long range performance. The difference in 0 to 60 is at the start. Once they're rolling, they're the same thing. So I've got a feeling this Audi GT and the Porsche are going along the same lines as that. All quick cars, all more than you need on the road, that's for sure. But in terms of outright performance, you know, for what you can get for the same money, a used Model S long range performance versus these cars new, or even cheaper than the Porsche is probably worth most money here actually. And yeah, Tesla uses quicker, but of course there's a Tesla Plaid coming out now, and from what we've seen of that so far, that's quite a lot quicker again. I mean, it really is ludicrous. Yeah. Back. That was a long, hot drive. Friday afternoon is worst time to travel, but I've got some figures for you, so are you ready? Okay, right, let's start with the Taycan. So we covered 150 miles, by the way, a real mixture of conditions, aircon all the way, traffic, then fast motorway, then some country roads and cutting through town. So it wasn't trying for the best efficiency at all, real world driving, and not in their eco modes, just in their normal driving modes like you get in them. So after 150 miles, the Taycan was showing an average economy of 317 watt hours per mile, or 3.15 miles per kilowatt hour. Now, just before I go any further, that consumption gauge on this, when we were driving up to where we were going in Stafford, it actually reset on me. And then a couple of times I've noticed with this car, it seems to kind of pause, and I don't know, I don't quite believe it. So I've got an alternative figure for you as well. And that is that this car used 59% of its battery to do that 150 mile journey, which would give it a theoretical range from 100% to 0 of 254 miles. We've just filmed another video on that, so check that one out as well. So that's the Taycan, the e-tron GT. So this recorded 344 watt hours per mile, or 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour. So actually, in theory, less efficient than this. However, it used 57% of its battery, which would give it a theoretical range of 263 miles. And you would expect this one to be slightly more efficient, really based on the slightly more aerodynamic wheels, I'd have thought. So it's possibly slightly grey and ultimately very similar, which is what you'd expect. They're basically the same car underneath. Then we come to the Tesla. Now, we said it's the benchmark. You ready for this? You ready for this? So this averaged 252 watt hours per mile. That's very nearly 4 miles per kilowatt hour. So these are around about 3 miles per kilowatt hour, 4 miles per kilowatt hour. Quite a bit better. And that would give this car a theoretical range of 341 miles. You can see how they do well, can't you? It is astoundingly different. Okay, we've got the smaller wheels here, but we've got smaller wheels here as well. It wouldn't be vastly different with the 21s. There may be, a few percent of difference there, but as you can see, more efficient. Now, the benefit of these cars is 800 volt systems. They can charge faster. They can take a much higher, faster charging speed, and they do. We charged that one earlier, 265 kilowatts it was pulling, and it charged really, really fast, as would this. We've charged the GT before. Now the Tesla is slightly limited to its charging speed in the UK with the CCS, but it pulls pretty well and continuously. So in theory, you could recharge these faster than the Tesla. And I think overall, if you both started them charging from say 10% up to 80%, these are going to be quite a bit quicker. But obviously the Tesla used less energy in the first place, so it wouldn't be down to 10% to charge from. It would still have quite a bit more, so therefore its charging speed doesn't quite matter so much. So I think ultimately, if you were doing kind of a 2,000 mile cross-continental journey, I think you'd end up in a pretty similar place, to be honest. It'd be good to do a bit more testing with these cars, and we certainly will try and do that. So it's been a really long, interesting day though, and I hope that's been useful. I think there's more tests we can do with these cars if we get the chance to do so. In the meantime, which one would you pick? Well, we've given some opinions, some differences between them all. They've all got their pros and cons really, and it's great there's a selection that would suit different people. We were just summarising it as we were pulling in here. Gint's behind the camera, he's a keen driver. He would actually probably take the Taycan. The e-tron GT, well, I think it's really smart. It does tickle my fancy a lot. And Serge, he goes for the Tesla. So we literally are, honestly, kind of one apiece at this. The Tesla really, as you can tell, is a kind of better electric car, so much going for it, but there's some good competition now. They're all great. If you're in the market for one of these, I think you need to see it and try each one of these. It's really hard to pick them apart. So there we go. Tesla's the king of efficiency. these can charge faster. Hope that's been useful. Thanks, over and out from me for now. Long day. Okay guys, fire your questions at me. Which one's better? Give me some questions.
What's more comfortable, e-tron or Taycan?
E-tron's more comfortable. I think, obviously they got the same suspension, I think, but I think just because it's got the slightly smaller wheels, you know, when you go over like a sharp ridge, it sort of thuds a little bit in the Taycan. Other than that, it's very soft in comfort mode. This one doesn't have those kind of ridge sort of impacts, so very, very smooth and comfortable when it's comfort setting.
Steering, e-tron, Taycan?
Steering, Taycan. I haven't done too much cornering in this one yet, but the Taycan does just have a sharper, more direct steering feel. I remember that Taycan there has the four-wheel steering, and you can feel that even when you're just going around a roundabout. So yeah, Taycan wins that one, which it should do. You want it to. It's very good in the Taycan.
Between the Etron GT or the Etron 55, the SUV?
Okay, the ride comfort between the Etron 55 SUV and the Etron GT, do you know what, it's surprisingly similar, I think. I found that SUV 55 very comfortable, standout comfortable. This being a GT, you'd think it would be firmer and harder, but actually in comfort mode, nah, it's still good, really good. I don't think there's much in it. It's got a ride quality this of a luxury saloon car, I would say.
The e-tron GT and the Mercedes S500, because I know you like a Mercedes S500.
Say it's got a similar ride to a Mercedes S500, funnily enough. Not quite at that level, but it's surprisingly not a million miles off.
Visibility, what do you think between these three? Which one's the best?
Visibility, the Tesla feels the kind of lightest, the most open. These are both more kind of sports GT cars. You sit lower down, so the GT and the Taycan both lose out to the Tesla for that.